bodies weren't falling for him at some points in that fight, but I believe we won that fight. Clearly, we should be two-time world champion right now.
Gervonta "Tank" Davis is back at it with the trolling, and this time Lamont Roach Jr. is in his sights. After their fight ended in a controversial draw, Tank didn't hold back in letting Roach know exactly what he thought. But that's not all. Tank's rivals are also taking shots at him, calling out his pretty boy excuse in the ring. This drama is setting up some exciting potential fights for the near future. However, Tank seems more focused on the money, which became clear when he revealed the fighter he planned to call out if he had beaten Roach.
Who were you gonna call out? What was the plan originally?
I think he was here.
I ain't gonna do him.
He came in my locker room.
Shakur Stevenson?
He wasn't in my locker room.
Jake Paul?
Next question.
Here's the latest. During a heated live session, Gervonta "Tank" Davis mocked Lamont Roach Jr., insisting he was still the better fighter and that Roach should be grateful he wasn't knocked out. But Roach wasn't backing down, firing back that Tank gave it everything he had and still couldn't secure the win. Now that things are settling down, it seems like Tank might not be done with Roach just yet.
Nobody like a draw, you know, from a guy that get knockouts and things like that, but it's cool. I feel like if we fight again, I could do more, and I should have did more. I was lost in I lost track in the...
The fight itself was a solid showdown. Roach came in sharp, outworking Tank in several rounds, and even delivering a huge moment in the 9th that shook the boxing world. Tank took a knee, a moment most fans and analysts saw as a clear knockdown, but the referee didn't call it. That decision changed everything. If it had been ruled correctly, Roach would have secured the biggest win of his career. Instead, the fight ended in a majority draw, allowing Tank to hold onto his WBA lightweight title. Despite the controversy, Tank has been in full troll mode ever since. The moment he got the chance, he jumped on social media to remind Roach that he's still the champion and that a draw wasn't enough to call it a win. "You should be thanking me for not ending your career," Davis wrote in one post. In another, he completely dismissed Roach's performance, saying, "You had the fight of your life and still couldn't beat me." But Roach wasn't about to stay quiet. He clapped back, telling Tank that deep down, he knew the truth. Davis gave it everything he had and still couldn't put him away.
Round, they was both even. If you watch the fight, they was both watching each other. Sometimes they stood right in front of each other and was just trying to figure out where the holes was at. It was a very skillful fight.
And which is one of the things that when you fight somebody that you know that.
You know what happened in that ring? Roach said during an Instagram live session, "You felt it, you gave it your best, and you still couldn't beat me. Told you I wasn't Frank Martin." It was a direct challenge, one that Tank clearly didn't take lightly. Davis then addressed his reason for taking a knee during the fight. It didn't take long for him to fire back, and this time he doubled down. "Man, y'all keep talking about that knee," he said. "I took a knee because I wanted to, not because he did anything special. I was just chilling, thinking about what I was gonna eat after the fight. But everyone knows the truth. That moment showed a rare sign of vulnerability." And from Davis, and Roach isn't letting it go, keeping the pressure on Deshae.
And I thought I was doing my thing, so I'm not really that frustrated about that. But if that was kind of a knockdown, I would win a majority decision.
All this back and forth is making Tank rethink his future. Before the Roach fight, Davis was clear about his plan to retire soon. He originally said he had 3 more fights left after Roach and would be done with boxing by the end of 2025. But that draw changed everything. Now, Davis is saying he's not going anywhere just yet. Yeah, it definitely changed my plans. It definitely changed my plans, Tank admitted at the post-fight press conference. I probably got 4 more fights now.
For your future.
Yeah, it definitely changed my plans. It definitely changed my plans. I probably got like 4 more fights now. For sure.
It's a complete shift from where he was just months ago. At the end of 2024, Tank said he was tired of boxing and ready to walk away, with his plan already set. But now he's got something to prove. The draw against Roach has clearly been bothering him, even if he won't admit it outright. His non-stop trolling says it all. But while Tank is busy trolling, Keyshawn Davis is on a mission to expose him, and he's not holding back. Since Tank's controversial draw with Roach, Keyshawn has been all over social media, making it clear he never believed Tank was as good as he claimed to be. To Keyshawn, Tank's entire reputation is built on hype, not real skill. And after watching him struggle against Roach, he's doubling down on that belief. Keyshawn is convinced Tank isn't what people think he is, and he's making it clear, if they ever step in the ring, he has no doubt he'd take Tank down.
That fight playing out, what's the biggest advantage that Keyshawn has? Against Tank? Yeah. He's a great boxer. Keyshawn's a great boxer, and he got power behind it, too. So I can see that fight just being an entertaining fight. Keyshawn's an entertainer, like he said. Tank comes in there trying to knock you out. I can see that fight just being entertained and, doing later rounds. Keyshawn stop. Yeah.
Keyshawn first spoke out during an Instagram live, and he didn't hold back when criticizing Tank's performance. I feel like Lamont won. Let's start there, he said, making sure everyone knew exactly where he stood. I feel like Lamont definitely won. A draw is what it is. I ain't hating on the decision, but I really think Lamont Roach pulled it off. But he wasn't just sharing his opinion, he backed it up with facts. If the 9th round knee had been correctly ruled as a knockdown, Roach would have won on 2 of the 3 scorecards, making him the new WBA lightweight champion. Instead, Tank held onto his belt, and the controversy only fueled the debate about whether he's really the best at 135. If they ran it back, y'all already know what would happen, Keyshawn added, making it clear he believes Roach would win. A rematch without a doubt.
The nigga trash. And not I'm talking about the opponent. Oh, the opponent. Burn trash. I just don't like how.
But this wasn't just about Roach. It was about Keyshawn putting himself in the conversation. He doesn't just think Roach beat Tank. He believes he would do even worse to him. I'm the best at 135, man, he said confidently. Either one of them, I'm knocking them out. There was no hesitation, no doubt. He spoke like a man who already knew the outcome. I'm telling you, if you give me either of them before their rematch, I'm messing that rematch up. They're getting put down. I ain't playing. I'll take all these guys out. The message was clear. Tank and Roach can run it back as many times as they want, but if Keyshawn gets to either of them first, he'll be the one taking over the division.
But I don't want to fight one of them. You know what I'm saying? I don't care who I fight at this point. I don't care. But I'm telling you, if you give me either or before they rematch, I'm fucking their rematch up. They getting put. I'm telling you, I ain't even playing. I ain't playing, bro. I'm young. I'm on fire. I'm young and I'm on fire.
Then came the moment when Keyshawn really went at Tank. Don't say Tank will knock me out no more. I'm shutting that S down right now. Don't even fix your mouth to say this man could knock me out. Crazy. This wasn't just trash talk. It was a complete dismissal of everything. Tank has built his name on the power, the knockouts, the fear factor. Keyshawn doesn't see any of it as real. In his mind, Tank has never fought anyone like him, and he's making it clear that if they ever step in the ring, it'll be a completely different kind of fight than anything Tank has ever faced.
And I thought I should have won a competitive fight. I think I did what I needed to do necessary to bank the rounds, and even without the
even without the knee, that should have been a knockdown. So, you know, I don't think there's any excuse for me not to win tonight, but that's just how the cookie crumble.
Keyshawn isn't just talking for the sake of it. There's a real chance he could be next in line to fight Tank. While Tank has said he's open to a rematch with Roach, he also made it clear that it won't be his next fight. That has fans wondering, if it's not Roach, then who? Devin Haney and Shakur Stevenson are names that have been floating around, but so is Keyshawn Davis. And given how personal he's making it, the build-up to that fight would be unlike anything we've seen from Tank in a long time. Keyshawn isn't just calling out Tank's last fight, he's calling out his entire career. He's arguing that Tank has never been what people say he is, claiming he's been carefully matched against opponents who make him look good rather than facing real threats.
That particular quality, if I'm Tank Davis and I'm coming off a disappointment in terms of my offensive output, I'm not going straight to the best defender in the division. I'm looking for some other fight, and I think the logical fight for him is a rematch with Lamont Roach.
And now that Tank has finally been in a real fight, he barely made it through. To Keyshawn, the myth of Tank is falling apart, and he wants to be the one to finish it for good. But Keyshawn isn't the only one calling him out. Tim Bradley, one of Tank's harshest critics, for years has repeatedly questioned his level of competition and how his career has been managed. Over time though, even Bradley admitted that Tank had something special, especially with how he handled the Saudis. While he didn't always agree with Tank's attitude, he started to respect certain qualities in him. However, after what he saw against Lamont Roach Jr., that respect is gone. Beastain.
I think when he found out that this guy is in front of me, he's taking it. I think it was too late. I thought it was disappointing that he didn't draw.
It wasn't just that Tank underperformed, it was his attitude. The entitlement, the belief that he could do whatever he wanted in the ring and get away with it. Bradley has seen a lot in boxing, but Tank's antics during that fight left him shaking his head. He had expected a dominant performance from Davis, a statement win that would silence critics and prove he was still the top guy at 135. Instead, Tank looked vulnerable. And worse, he carried himself like he was above the sport.
Hey, can't even see who it is. Hey, come on. Who is the dude? Who is the dude?
Bradley was disgusted by what he saw, and he didn't hold back in his analysis. He felt Tank had been given an unfair advantage, that the fight was being controlled to protect him rather than letting the action play out naturally. The 9th round incident was the perfect example. Bradley had never seen a fighter take a knee like that, pause the action on his own terms, and have it completely ignored by the referee. That was the moment Bradley realized Tank wasn't just the A-side. He was being treated like boxing royalty, with rules bent in his favor. And for someone like Bradley, who prided himself on fighting the hard way, that was unacceptable.
They made the rules up. Yeah, that was bullshit. It should have been called a knockdown. You can't take a break like that. The only person that can do that is the referee. The referee can stop the action and say, hey, let me take you to the corner.
Bradley also took issue with Tank's attitude during the fight. There was no sense of urgency, no real effort to take control in the later rounds when the fight was slipping away. It was almost as if Tank believed his status alone would be enough to secure the win, as if the judges wouldn't dare score it against him. Bradley had seen fighters lose hunger before, but this was different. Tank wasn't just coasting, he was acting like he didn't need to do more than the bare minimum, and that, to Bradley, was a major problem. And Dreams,
stop closing up. Gotta let it go. Keep turning, step around.
Bradley was particularly frustrated because he had actually started to come around on Tank. He had given him credit after his knockout win over Ryan Garcia, acknowledging that Tank had shown patience, timing, and a high ring IQ. He had even defended Tank against critics who claimed he was overrated, arguing that his power made him one of the most dangerous fighters in the sport. But this fight changed everything. Tank's unwillingness to push himself, his reliance on status rather than skill, made Bradley question whether he had been wrong to give him that credit in the first place. The more Bradley thought about it, the angrier he got. This wasn't just about one fight, it was about what it meant for the future. If Tank was already showing signs of complacency, if he believed he didn't have to prove himself anymore, what would happen in his next fights? What would happen if he faced someone like Keyshawn Davis, young, hungry, and eager to take him down? What if he fought Devin Haney or Shakur Stevenson, fighters who wouldn't let him get away with taking rounds off? Bradley didn't like what he saw, and he wasn't afraid to say it.
Okay.
We still got to see each other. He say he want to fight me, so we gonna fight.
But what do you think about the decision?
I told Lamont won.
You told Lamont won. Got you. I'll talk to you later, Shakur. Good luck.
For Bradley, boxing is about discipline, heart, and the willingness to dig deep when things get tough. He had been in wars, pushed himself to the absolute limit, and never once expected special treatment. That's why this whole situation disgusted him. He didn't care how much talent Tank had. If he wasn't willing to fight like a champion, then to Bradley, he was never a real champion. But even with all the backlash, Gervonta Davis seems to have reached a point where what the fans think doesn't really matter to him. He's not looking to prove himself against the best in his division. He's not worried about legacy right now. It's all about the money, and if that's the case, then Jake Paul is the biggest payday available. The clues are all there. Jake Paul was in Tank's locker room before the fight. The cameras made sure to highlight him during the broadcast, and when Tank was asked about his next opponent, he danced around the question in a way that made it clear he already knew who it was. He even refused to say Jake's name when pressed by the media, which could mean negotiations are already underway and he didn't want to spill the news too soon. A fight with Jake Paul wouldn't be about competition, it would be about business. Jake knows how to sell a fight, and Tank is at a point where he's prioritizing paydays over challenges. He's already hinted that a rematch with Lamont Roach isn't happening next, even though the controversy from their fight makes it the most logical option. The WBA should be ordering an immediate rematch, but Tank doesn't seem interested. If they push the issue, he could just vacate the title and move on. That's how little the belts matter to him now. And if he's going to move on from defending his title, why not go all in and take the biggest spectacle fight he can get? Size-wise, this fight makes no sense. Jake Paul walks around at 200 LEBs and has even gone as high as 227 for his fight with Mike Tyson. Tank is a natural 135-pounder, maybe 140 at most. Even if Jake somehow drained himself down to 185, there would still be a massive 45-pound difference between them. But this isn't about fairness, it's about selling a fight. Jake Paul has already called out smaller fighters before, including Nate Diaz and Conor McGregor. Facing Tank would just be another chapter in his circus of fights.
Yeah, I mean, I'll be down. Let's run it. I'll be super, super down. I don't know if
Gervonta needs Jake Paul. Let's be clear, right?
Is there a height limit in boxing?
Jake knows exactly how to get under people's skin and turn fights into must-see events. He's already throwing out hints that he'd destroy Tank due to the size difference while still giving him respect. As a fighter, that's the kind of comment that keeps the conversation going. He's planting the seed, and Tank seems like he's on board. If Tank were really interested in fighting Devin Haney or Shakur Stevenson, he would have said their names when asked. Instead, he played coy, dodged the question, and let the speculation grow. That's exactly how a Jake Paul fight would be. Promoted.
No, I'm not.
He's a champ though too, undefeated.
And what champ? Come on, man, tell me what belt. You know boxing. You forgot Devin Haney is undisputed. Devin Haney got all the belts. He the champ. Nobody else to champ. I'm gonna come up here with a big boy.
For years, Tank's fan base defended him when people questioned his level of competition. They argued that he was the most dangerous puncher in the sport, that he didn't need to fight the biggest names to prove himself. But now, even his most loyal supporters are finding it hard to back him up. His performance against Roach was underwhelming, and his attitude after the fight made it clear that he's not taking these fights seriously. If he goes on to fight Jake Paul next, it would be undeniable proof that he has no interest in fighting the best anymore.
Go ahead, Jazzy, get in the ring, Jazzy.
A fight with Jake Paul would also bring in mainstream attention. Tank has always been a star in the boxing world, but Jake Paul attracts a completely different audience. This would be a fight that sells purely because of the names involved, not because of any real competition. Casual fans would eat it up, while hardcore boxing fans would hate it. But either way, it would make money. And at this stage, that seems to be the only thing Tank cares about. Some might argue that Tank is just trolling, that he wouldn't actually go through with fighting Jake Paul. But the fact remains, he hasn't denied it. When the idea was brought up, he didn't shoot it down. He didn't laugh it off. He just moved on to the next question. That's not how a fighter responds when a ridiculous rumor is brought up. That's how a fighter responds when something is being negotiated behind the scenes. The biggest problem with all of this is that Tank still has unfinished business at lightweight. He has top-tier challengers waiting for him. Fighters like Shakur Stevenson, Devin Haney, and even Gervonta Davis, who's been calling him out non-stop. If Tank wants to prove he's the best at 135, those are the fights he needs to take. But if he chooses to fight Jake Paul instead, then it's clear he's given up on being great. He's no longer trying to build a legendary career. He just wants the biggest bag possible. And right now, Jake Paul is that bag. What do you think is next? And do you think Lamont Roach outclassed Tank? Share your thoughts below and subscribe for more.